Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would just give you a nice and chatty kind of update and also talk about Remember December a little bit more. December is so incredibly close. I can't believe how fast this year has flown by and that we are so close to December. It's unbelievable. If you're not familiar with the Remember December Readathon, it is an event that was created by Ann Novella and Elizabeth over at Bookins and Books, and they kindly asked a number of us to co-host. And I have been so inspired by this event that it's kind of taking over my TBR a bit. I keep looking at it, keep thinking, oh, I could reread this book and this book and this book. It is getting to be a bit out of control. I will have to pare this down at some point, but I thought I would come out and just share a little bit about, one, remind everyone about the upcoming event. I hope that you're going to participate. I am, like I said, very excited about it, but I also thought I would come and share how some of my other challenges or other reading events that are going on is inspiring me to pick up some other books on my shelves. So dig in. I have a nice stack of books here. The first thing is the Read What You Own Challenge, which is hosted by Criminali, Ollie over at Criminali, and then MJ at Reading This Life, and Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, and Crystal at Viber Artsy. Kind of kicked off the challenge this year. It started a week and a half ago or so, and that is, going on still for me. I have not bought a book, which is great. Even though I am sorely tempted to. There's a couple books that I keep seeing and like, but I want to buy that. But I've been strong. I haven't picked it up. I put a couple books on hold at the library, but of course they're not in yet. It is just, it would be, it's an adjustment. I'm definitely having to adjust. But with that, the Read What You Own Challenge, a couple of the books that have struck my fancy have been this particular series. So for the Remember December component, which is the reread side, it is really this book, All Systems Read by Martha Wells. So this is the first book in the Murderbot series. I did read this last year sometime, and I vaguely remember it, but I don't remember a lot of it. So I would like to reread this particular one because I also have this one, Artificial Conditions, which is book 2. And then if you look over here, right here, I have book 3 and book 4. So for the Read What You Own challenge, rereading All Systems Read would get me to where I could read Artificial Condition. I'm actually struggling to not pick these up in November because I really want to pick this particular series back up again and see how much I like it after having read a bit more sci-fi. So the Read What You Own challenge is inspiring me to want to reread All Systems Read and pick up Artificial Conditions. Now, the next event is not an event that I am co-hosting. I saw this on Berna at Berna's Bookish Adventures channel, and this is for the Missing Christie Readathon. So if you're not familiar with Agatha Christie, there was a period in one of the years where she just disappeared for 11 days between, I think, December 3rd and December 14th, and never explained what happened. So the Missing Christie Readathon is to read Agatha Christie during that time frame. And the group read this year is actually The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which I own. So Read What I Own challenge, great. I will be able to do that. I'm really looking forward to reading this one because I've never read this. This is the first book in the Hercule Poirot series. I have read other Hercule Poirot novels, but not this one. So yeah, this one will be great. I'm not reading the back of this particular one because I don't want to even risk being spoiled. I don't know if you can spoil Agatha Christie, but yeah, I would like to read this one in December, and the reread component of it is this one, The Death on the Nile. So I have this listed on my TBR as having been read. Did I read it? I don't know. I honestly, I know the story. I've seen an adaptation or two, but did I actually read this one? I think it fits the prompt really well of read a book that you've completely forgotten. I don't even remember for sure if I've read it. So the Missing Christie Readathon, I am going to focus, like I said, on these two, the group read and then Death on the Nile. And hopefully that'll give me a couple of good ones for the Read What You Own challenge. After that, I have been reading, I have been reading North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell this month. I'm over halfway through. This is a book that's on my 1001 book countdown. I'm working my way through this. I also recently read Castle Richmond by Anthony Trollope as a first-time read. And one of the things that it's inspiring me to do is pick up an old classic on my shelves, probably one of the more beautiful books that I actually own. But those two kind of Victorian reads, those two older classics, is making me really want to pick up and read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I don't remember when I read this. I know it was quite a while ago. I want to say at least 15 years ago. I didn't read it in school, but I don't I know the story, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. I just don't remember reading much about it. And plus I have this absolutely gorgeous edition that has Marjolaine Baston illustrations in it. These editions are incredible because they also have little inserts in them. So as you go through, they have things like this that can enhance the reading experience. I think it would be really fun to read it from this particular gorgeous copy that I have. So this is another rereading possibility inspired by Anthony Trollope and Elizabeth Gaskell. So yeah, I think this will be a good one. I'm going to say it's probably lower on the list of probabilities, but it is one I'm inspired by. So yeah, this is where the Remember December TBR or Remember December Readathon is kind of pushing around my TBR a little bit. I keep adding. So in November, what I have on my shelf, I haven't quite read it yet. I'm really hoping to read it the last week of November, but it was picked up for the fraud prompt, and that is The Betrayal of Anne Frank by Rosemary Sullivan. This is supposed to be a cold case investigation of what happened to Anne Frank and her family and to figure out who actually betrayed Anne Frank. Now, it's interesting in this book, as Anne Novella was telling me, that this book is actually no longer available in the EU, I believe, because they did not agree with who the cold case actually came up with as the person or persons responsible. I'm like, okay, now I really want to read it. And it seems to fit doubly for that fraud prompt for Nonfiction November. So with this book, what I'm thinking about is reading this one. Like I said, I haven't gotten to it quite yet, but then also rereading this one, Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I'm going to say it's been 30, 40 years since I've read. 30 years. How old am I? 35 years since I've read this particular book. And so this one is one, if I do get to this one, I can guarantee you I'm going to read the Diary of a Young Girl, because I really want to get the context between these two. And it has been so long since I have read this that I think that would be an excellent pairing with these two. So we'll see. I'm hopeful, but like I said, my TBR keeps getting longer, not shorter. The next book, the next thing is that I have read a absolutely excellent 5-star nonfiction read, which I'll have a video coming out shortly about 5-star nonfiction reads this month. But one of the books that I am inspired by, or inspired to read after reading Disability Visibility, is actually this one, Wonder by R.J. Palacio. So Disability Visibility is one of the 5-star reads that I will talk about in great detail about, and it is such a great book, and I want to give it its proper recognition in a different video. But this particular book, Wonder, features a young man with a facial disfigurement. So he has a disability. And after having read Disability Visibility, I really want to reread this one and see what I think of it now. What am I going to think about this particular book after having read Disability Visibility? I loved this book, by the way. This was a 5-star read for me when I read it. It is a middle grade book, but Augie, who is the main character, has such a lovely spirit, such a lovely presence in this book. And it is one that I absolutely want to get back to. I actually picked up this book originally because of Jack over at Spread Book Joy, and it has definitely become a favorite. I would love to reread this particular book. All right, the next one and the last one is a book I haven't started yet. I start this on Monday, but I can guarantee you that this is a book that is right up my alley, and that is Grandma Gatewood's Walk by Ben Montgomery. I will be reading this with Tiffany over at Beautiful Minutia. This particular story, it says on the front of it, the inspiring story of The Woman Who Saved the Appalachian Trail. I love this cover, by the way. There's some great chapter headings in this particular book as well that make me really excited to pick this particular one up. One of them says, "Go home, Grandma." So I am just very, very excited to pick up this particular book. But I can tell you what this is doing is it's making me want to pick up a couple of other books about hiking that I have read in the past. And the first one is the first half of A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. I actually also read this with Tiffany, and the first half of this is hilarious. So I would kind of like to reread part of this one. I don't know if I'd reread the whole one, but I want to read the first part with Bill Bryson and his friend Katz, and just how much of a disaster his friend Katz is on the trail. This book, I think, along with this one, would be a wonderful way to celebrate this particular book. It also has made me want to reread a book that I read a number of years ago and really, really liked, which is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Now, we're on the opposite side of the country with this particular book. This is this is her memoir after her mother died, where she went out and hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that goes from Canada at the Canada-Washington border all the way down through Oregon and California to the Mexico border. And I have hiked portions of this trail, but not very much of it. I've never done an overnight on this trail, but it's in kind of my unattainable bucket list to do something like that. This book, when I read it, there were so many components of it that I loved about hiking. She goes out and she is completely unprepared in a lot of different ways. And there's so much of this that is completely relatable to my own hiking adventures that makes me really want to reread this. Plus, to be able to reread Grandma Gatewood's Walk and then read this one, I feel like these are two very excellent books to read together that are on opposite sides, featuring trails on opposite sides of the country. So as you can see, yeah, it's really gotten out of control because I already had 3 other books on my Remember December TBR. I still have 7.5 books to read for the 1001 book countdown. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I'm ready. I'm excited for it. Should be fun. What are you reading for Remember December? Are you joining us? I hope so. I'd love to hear in the comments down below what you have planned. Have you read any of the books that I'm planning on rereading? I would love to hear that as well. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.